give you all a couple of minutes in case anyone is around. I might just lift this up a little bit more. Anyone around? Okay, sip of tea and then we'll get cracking. Does anyone else do that? Is that just a me thing? Like, I always lick the side of my mug, like... Pretty sure it's because I feel like if the mug is slightly wet, it's not going to make my lipstick or lip gloss, whatever, stick to it as much. So it won't come off. And then I kind of got into the habit of just doing it. So now, even before I have like a sip of water, I kind of like lick the side. There you go, an insight into my world. Okay, let's get into it. So today I have client sessions, and one of them is happening this afternoon, and it's a level 1 spiral session. So in the first session, the spiral, we clear dogma, guilt and shame. Big, big emotions, right? And because of the weightiness of the emotions that happen in the first level of the spiral, I like to make sure that my little Sausalito, Heinz, is either being taken care of downstairs and I can be in my office and he's not going to kick off, or that he's out for a walk or something. Because, you know, life is life, and we've definitely all acclimatized to the fact that there's lots of people working at home these days. So we understand that life happens, the postman comes up, someone rings, you know, like, you can't control everything, and I completely understand that, and I really have no desire to, because where would be the fun in that? Am I right? But when I look at this spiral, like, normally my dog is with me, either we're in the living room where I am right now, or we're in my office and he sits downstairs and chills out, okay? And if he barks, and sometimes I have to just like pause and I'm like, sorry about this, I've just got to go and grab the dog. And my clients are generally, in fact, I don't know any of my clients who aren't dog lovers, because quite frankly, it's part of my vibe. I love the doggos. So usually, in fact, always, as far as I'm aware of anyway, my clients are very understanding, and they're usually quite excited to actually get a glimpse of Heinz on a call. So we have a little wave and then he goes on the floor and sorts himself out. Okay. However, when it comes to level 1 of the spiral, I like to be as diligent as possible, because, as I say, we're dealing with very heavy emotions. We're looking at safety, security, things like that. And in my mind, you know, people coming to me as a practitioner to create a safe space and hold an energetic container for them. And when we're in that level 1 spiral space, because there's issues of safety and it's the root chakra, so it's like very base survival stuff. The last thing I want is for someone to be, excuse me, shifting energy as I'm talking to you. The last thing I want is for someone to be in the middle of receiving a clearing session, having a big release about something, and then my dog kicking off downstairs, and then I feel like I'm distracted. So today I decided that I have a client at 2 till 3, and then I have someone at 4 till 5, and that 4 till 5 one is the spiral session. So I promise you this is going somewhere. We always get there eventually. Just enjoy basking in the fact that I actually used bronzer and eyeshadow today. You're welcome. So my boyfriend's at work, and I knew that there was going to be some kind of, there was going to be a place during the day where potentially a delivery could be made or whatever, and the dog could potentially lose his shit in the middle of this session. So, like, you know, any responsible human would do, any responsible dog mom would do, I made other plans. I made alternative plans, and I asked my mum to take care of him. So she's fine with that, blah, blah, blah. Now look, here's the deal. I thought that my boyfriend had run to work today, which meant that he wouldn't have his car, which meant he wouldn't be able to go and pick up the dog, which meant that I would then have to go not only take my dog to my mother's house, come back from my session at 4 till 5, go to the gym 5:30 to 6:30, and then go and pick him up afterwards, right? So in my mind, I've suddenly gone, oh no, this is a really big deal. Oh my God, I've got to like drive across the island to drop my dog off, come home, do a session, go to the gym, then drive. Oh, it'd be so much easier if John just driven to work today. And I could feel this, like this is exactly what happened in my body. I got so irritated and I was like, oh, how dare he not take into account my plans for the day. And I'm like, Georgina, he's at work, like he's got an actual job where he has to go and do things. Like he can't just accommodate the fact that you want to go to the gym and you've got a session and we have a noisy dog. Like, it's okay. So me being me, I looked at this and I was like, what is this actually about? Like, what the fuck am I really feeling right now? So I started tapping on the karate chop point, which is a great tip, by the way. If you're new to tapping, or even if you're experienced, sometimes we forget that it can be really simple to shift the energy, and we kind of want to overcomplicate stuff. Like the more we know, the more we try and draw on these resources, and sometimes the simplest thing is actually the way to go. So I started tapping on the karate chop point on the side of the hand, and I was just tapping away, and I was feeling into the irritation. I was like, why am I so irritated? Because I'm projecting this irritation out. What is really going on here? So I started to feel into the irritation. It felt like this metal rod had been like stabbed through my head, like through my body, and it was just really like so I let myself feel a bit of that and I kind of checked in, like, is this something that needs to just be released through movement? Do I just need to like put some music on, like thrash around a bit and to be like release it? But the body was like, no, that's still, in this particular case, that would still be avoiding or just trying to move the energy without really understanding it. And it was like the understanding was where I could feel the understanding in this case was where the gem was. So I stayed with the energy in my body and I kept tapping and just feeling into it. And I was like, okay, so this irritation, even though I've got this irritation because I feel like no one ever takes my plans into account and blah, 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 and just getting all like self-righteous and meh, 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 meh. I started tapping through the other points and I was like, oh, this isn't actually irritation. This is something else. I can feel that there's something going on here. And what my brain and the program, the belief that made itself known to me as I was tapping and clearing the energy from my body, like the what would I even call this? Almost like the energy of resistance, you know, like the reaction, the irritation and the anger and the how dare you, like the self-righteousness, like and the thing is that I see that energy like in my mom, I see it a little bit in my dad, and I definitely see that I've taken that energy on as a defense mechanism to like when I was like a teenager, for example, when I had to like fight the power, and like when I was setting my own boundaries and I really had to like a lot of stuff to like push against in their programming in order to be the person. I mean, you know, probably having a child like me wasn't necessarily the easiest thing for a couple of very traditional parents. Well, moderately traditional, I suppose. You know, they gave birth to this and then we're probably like, oh fuck me, we were not prepared for this. So like I get that now, but obviously as a child I didn't understand that. I was just like, love me for who I am. So this irritation, this feeling, when I started to actually tune in and like clear the surface reaction and the like stories, because I could feel this pattern is stopping me from receiving, in all areas of my life. I could just feel it. This defense mechanism, when I feel something around, like this particular thing I'm just going to tell you about, when I feel that defense mechanism come out, I can get so fucking self-righteous that I actually can't see myself anymore. And it's very rare that you will ever hear me like blame someone else or project on someone else, because usually when I experience that, I then go, ooh, there's a trigger, there's a lesson here for me, and I'll take it away and I'll journal and I'll do the work, I'll integrate it. Jobs are good, and I understand the part of myself that I didn't want to see, that was being reflected back to me, la 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 la. But sometimes when it's such like a deep childhood fucking ingrained thing. It can take a few times before you actually realize like, oh fuck, I'm doing that blaming thing and I'm just letting myself sit in blame and being okay with it. Self-righteousness for me, when I experience it, really feels like I'm just going, well, that's their problem. And sometimes it really is their problem. But self-righteousness in that way is a defense mechanism. So when I really felt like deeper, beyond, below that self-righteous energy, what I began to realize was that it was a defense mechanism. And so when I fell into it and I was like, when did I learn to have this protection mechanism? And why has it been triggered by this? By the fact that I feel like I have to make all the plans for dog care and I have to, you know, check when my boyfriend's working and mold my life around when he's at work and what he wants to do, which, by the way, like, it's not even true. Like, all I have to do is ask for help if I want to. It's like martyr much. But, you know, I had this story. It's very important. My subconscious and my ego is very important for them to hold on to this story because it was protecting me from seeing what I really needed to see. So when I looked today and I gave myself the gift, I suddenly started to I had this huge emotional release in the form of tears. And it was so, when it came out, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I've been holding that in for so many, like for decades, you know, since I was a kid. And the real, like the today example of what it was bringing up for me was not even like I don't feel supported because I know all I have to do is ask for help, but it was something so much more insidious. And it was really sneaky because I've done a lot of other work on this. So when this came up, I was like, oh, that's the same but different. This is deeper. This is new. So as much as I was feeling the emotion of it, I was also feeling this like excited anticipation underneath, like, oh fuck, I found something here that when I pluck this out, there's magic underneath. You know, like I was like, found the carrot top and I'm gonna like pluck out a real juicy carrot. It's gonna be like, no, my life's gonna change. Magic carrot. So I found the magic carrot, and what actually happened was I chased pain and I followed it down, deep down into my body. I realized that what I was really triggered about was the sense that my boyfriend, John, doesn't, I got this feeling, and it felt like a truth in my body. He doesn't really understand what I do, and I don't feel like he really gets what I do. And I don't think that he really, I can feel another piece coming through, that's interesting. But I don't think like he doesn't really see it as a valid thing, or he doesn't understand like how I make the money I do doing what I do. And all of these stories, and by the way, none of this could all be complete lies. It might be true, I don't know. I've never actually sat down and asked him before, and I probably will do tonight and be like, oh my God, this came up in my tapping today. Can I just talk to you about this and see what he says? He'll probably just go, what? He generally looks kind of mildly confused whenever I bring him the rabbit holes that my mind takes me down. He's just like, wow, you make things really complicated. And I'm like, I know. That's what it's like having my brain. Welcome. Hey, Margaret. Hey, Lynn. So I started to feel like, oh, he doesn't get it. Like, to him, this is what the story, the belief, and like it felt like a truth in my body. Oh, he doesn't get it, and he doesn't really see what I do as being important or valid. So why would he even bother trying to accommodate me? He doesn't see what I do as like a real job, you know? And I was just like, oh, what the fuck? A, I don't even know if that's true. B, even if it is true, like I don't actually give a fuck whether he validates what I do or not. Like, it's what I do, and as long as I validate it, that's really all that matters. But what lived below that then was like, well, I wouldn't be this triggered by this if it was as simple as a today issue. You know, like if it's something that's just a today issue, it's an inconvenience. But this was making me like bubbly snot cry release. Ooh, getting goosebumps. So when I inquired a bit deeper, and I was like, okay, what is the real crux here? Like, what lives underneath the today problem, the today reaction. And it was just like, it's your dad dismissing you in general. Like it was, you know, like he's changed a lot obviously, because I feel like dads kind of mellow as they get older and whatever. But when I was a little kid, and again, whether this is true or not, remember that as a little kid, you are viewing things through your lens and you are receiving information through your lens as a child. And what you're looking for is love, validation, safety, reassurance, comforting, nurturing, probably playfulness and wanting to learn. You're wanting to feel accepted, included, important, valuable, and, you know, like super fucking safe. And as a little kid, and like this, it really kind of amped up in my teenage years. I feel like you know, when you're a teenager, it's like the volume turns up on the wounds you've received as a child so that you get to really experience them, which is so fun. And when I say wounds, you know, like I didn't grow up, I was very blessed. I did not grow up in like a physically abusive home or anything like that. But still, and this is, you know, like, it's all about context. It's all about context. You could have grown up in the most fucking, you know, perfect home as a child, but you'll still have shit. You'll still have childhood shit. There'll still be something. If it wasn't a parent, it would be a sibling. If it was a sibling, it would be a teacher. If it wasn't a teacher, it would be something you saw on television that was modelled for you. Yeah, so this is not about, you know, looking at your own experience and going, oh, there's so many people that have it worse. Yes, there are. Fuck yeah. In my case, there are definitely people who have had it way, way, way fucking worse than I did. That doesn't invalidate the little kid, you know, because you might look at the adult, like when I think about someone like looking at the adult going, come on, Nolly, sort it out. But actually, we're not really dealing with the adult in these situations. We're dealing with the child. So if I start to think about looking at like a 4 or 5 year old kid and go, have you got any idea? And there are other people in the world who've got way bigger problems than their dad being too busy to play a game with them. Or, you know, just because your dad doesn't know how to echo back your level of enthusiasm for life because he's stressed about work and money and, you know, like, you know, if I can suck it up, kiddo, you just wouldn't talk, well, I wouldn't talk to a little kid like that. So it's really about understanding when this kind of wounding comes up, you're looking at your inner child. This is a little kid that is still a part of you that is carrying that wounding. So please treat them with the kindness, compassion and heart that you would a little child, you know? Anyway, that was a little side point for you. You're welcome. So when I realized this was really about me feeling dismissed by my dad, and like, that just helped me see in a whole new way, like, oh, there's a part of me that is still, you know, still wanting or needing approval or validation from my father. And the thing is, like, I may never get it. And I have actually received kinds of validation from my dad since I've been like, you know, like a grown up, if you will. But it's like, and I receive it, but I guess it doesn't really land because I wasn't available for it to land, because I was still kind of protecting myself or expecting to be on some level dismissed. So it felt a little bit like I can't fully receive this because it might hurt when it gets taken away. Excuse me. But having done this work on myself today, what I'm realizing is I've been carrying that with me for such a long time. And when I look back over my life, I can see where it's led me to feel like I have to prove myself, where I've had to, you know, when I even look at things like, thank you, Margaret. Yes, we must treat her like the beautiful little girl that she is, or little boy. They, them, whomever you have as your little person. But it is really this idea of knowing that even though that happened to me when I was a little kid and it's come up today, I can heal that now, you know? And so I just literally I just tapped through and let it release. And, you know, I've been doing this work a long time. I do this shit every day. So I'm very good at knowing now when something's cleared and something's like clicked into place, integrated, and I can move forward from it. And if there's another level, it'll make itself known. But this year has really been about these personal wins and a lot of personal growth for me. Whereas the last 2 or 3 years have been very much like focused on my business growth, my money, all that stuff. Whereas at the end of last year, I started to find such a level of complacency with business and money that I was like, now that I know how to do this, I kind of am bored with it. So I knew that as I moved into 2021, I was going to have to look at the area of my life that I've always resisted looking at because it feels like hurty, which is relationships. So this year I've really been holding space to understand who I am in relationship and really cultivate my relationship with myself. And I like, even when I say that, I'm like, I'm so happy. Like, I now can genuinely say that I understand and feel like happy, and I feel happiness. I know how to experience and feel and drop back into happiness in any given moment. And this time last year, that was not my reality. This time last year, I felt anything but. I felt like I was still looking to external sources, and we're talking like 12 months ago here, people. So I had a lot of other shit together, but that ability to deeply feel happy and fully expressed in my life, that was still something that was like going begging. And that's what I focused on this year. So it's really what I feel like I'm talking about more and more with my clients as well. You know, clients are coming to me and they already know how to make money. They're already running 6, and some of them are running 7-figure businesses, which I didn't even realize until we got to talking about it a few sessions in. And I'm like, yeah, this is no longer about money. This is about you understanding that the way that you operate in your business and the level of just trust and faith that you have that money is just going to come in, that your creativity is just going to be available to you, we get to then map and model that over to other areas of your life, whether it's your health and fitness or your relationships, you know, whatever it is. And it's just really beautiful to be able to, it's almost like until you've made the money that you always thought was going to be unavailable to you, and you've like, right, I'm going to do that, I'm going to make the money. Until you've hit that goal, sometimes you don't really know what's underneath. And you need to hit that goal in order to understand that, like, oh, that's the thing I thought I wanted. Why do I still feel so dissatisfied? Like, why do I still not feel fulfilled? Why do I not feel satiated? And it's because it's not really about the goal. It was never really about the goal. Don't get me wrong, I still love helping people smash and manifest physical results, like 3D reality results, because we're having a human experience, and that's a really fucking fun thing to do. But it's not through, this is the goal and now we're just going to keep pushing until we fucking get there. Now my work truly, in a deeply embodied way, is about, oh fucking hell, like feeling good first, you know? Whatever your human design is, whatever your human design signature is, we all deserve to feel really fucking good. And we all, like, life is meant to feel good, you know? It's meant to feel good. And there's a quote in Illusions by Richard Bach that I think says, our only obligation in any lifetime is to be true to ourselves. And I remember reading that when I was about 16, and it just like, boof, it just hit me in the gut. And ever since then, you know, that's like, oh my God, that's like over 20 years ago. Shh, I'm 21 really. Can't you tell? But you know, it's like over 20 years ago, but that quote has still stayed with me, and it's still something that I feel is one of my core values. Is the work that I do on myself and with others is really about dropping us deeper into who we came here to be. And how many times do I have to say it? But I'm not interested in creating an army of mini Knowles, because you can't replicate me, because I'm me, and I can't replicate you because you're you. And actually, why the fuck would we want more me's? You've got me. One me is more than enough for anyone. Am I right? But this is the work we're doing now. This is it. It's about enjoyment, nourishing yourself, receiving from yourself first before you start giving to others and expecting others to give to you, because you've got to be ready to receive. And if you're not ready to receive from yourself, we've got some problems, right? We need to sort that shit out quick smart. So the whole thing today that triggered me ended up coming back to childhood wounding around feeling dismissed, unimportant, not seen, not valuable, you know, all that kind of stuff. And when I was a little kid, I was actually, it's so funny. As I say, I realize you're actually still like that now. I was actually really timid, but also I had these moments of like real exuberance and high performance value, you know, and I used to dress up as Madonna and like had the phone. There's a picture of me like with the phone, like the cord like wrapped half around me with this little headscarf on, and I'm wearing my sister's suspender belt like a bra, like upside down, and I've got her little riding boots on and everything. Like, my sister was like 17 years older than me, so she's like in her 20s, and I'm like singing around the kitchen like, ah! It's a picture of me. So good. If I can find it, I will share it, because it is like A class. Oh my god, that amazing picture. It basically sums up my spirit animal. So, you know, I had that in me, but generally I was actually quite timid and quite a nervous little kid. And I still have that in me. I still am, I wouldn't necessarily say timid, but I am an observer. So you guys see me here, and I'm in my, you know, I'm in my zone of genius. I'm in my power because I'm delivering through my channel spoken word, which is like, you know, pretty much what I'm on this planet to do, really. But when I'm not in that position of power, when I'm not in that position of like, this is my space and you come here because I'm here, when I'm not in that position and I'm what I feel like someone else's space, I can be quiet and I can be really reserved, and I can come across as quite shy and just like a little bit distant and, you know, a bit aloof actually as well. Something like you're a little bit scary, a little bit like aloof. It's like, oh. Apparently sometimes I come across as like just being like a little bit above it all. And I was like, well, it's not untrue. Sometimes I do feel a little bit above it all if there's bullshit going on, and I will detach myself like a motherfucker and go and replant myself somewhere that I feel more aligned and juiced up. Cheers, you're welcome. But really, if you don't give yourself permission to love yourself first, if you don't give yourself permission to see yourself first, if you don't give yourself permission to validate what you are doing in the world, we can't expect anyone else to. But also, when we need someone else's validation, that's where the real problem lies. So I will leave you with this reflection, which is, who is it in your life, current or past? And if it's somebody current, deal with that, but then follow it back and see like, who's the first person who dismissed you? Who's the first person that you remember didn't give you validation or made you feel invisible, or whatever the trigger that you're experiencing is. Yes, it might be with a specific person, but who do they represent to you? What figure from your early years does this person represent to you? And when we start doing this kind of healing work, what it means is that we really get to show up authentically. And we don't have to try like this whole fucking obsession with be vulnerable, be authentic. And it's like people are trying so hard to be vulnerable and be authentic that they're moving further away from themselves. You know, they're trying to create a caricature of how they view themselves rather than just letting themselves be themselves and have other people receive what they need from that reflection. Like, that's what we're here to do. And then obviously keep doing the deep inner healing work so that you're cleaning up that reflection and you start attracting different people. So who is it in your life, current / past, that you still feel you need to acknowledge or validate or understand what it is that you're doing for a living? If you're somebody who is a coach, a mentor, a healer, a spiritual practitioner, an artist, whether you're just, you know, an entrepreneur in another field, but you are essentially your own boss and you are responsible for your marketing, your messaging, your sales, you know, if you are the driving force behind what brings your money in, where are you still feeling out of integrity or incongruent with the pricing, for example, that you know you should be putting out into the world? Because there's a part of you that isn't really worried about what a stranger will say about your pricing. Like, someone might look at me and be like, how much do you charge? And I'd be like, well, this is what I charge. Like, if it's not for you, it's not for you. And actually, that's totally cool. Like, I've got other stuff if you want lower end things. You don't want to make that big an investment, that's totally fucking cool. You want free shit? I got loads of free shit. You don't want any of my shit? Cool, go find someone else. No big fucking deal, right? So on the surface, a stranger or someone who's not like an intimate person in my life, if they reflect back to me that like my pricing doesn't align with their values, then it doesn't really do anything to me, actually. I'm just kind of like, okay, cool, because I've done a fuck ton of work on that shit. But the idea that I was holding a frequency inside that the people who are meant to love me the most, aside from me, would somehow look at what I'm doing and still be like, I kind of feel like you're like, it's almost like you're just like getting away with it, like living the life you live, like you're just kind of getting away with it. I was like, oh, that felt disgusting. So that's the healing work that I've done today. I would love to know what you've taken from this live stream. And obviously, if you know anybody who would really benefit from hearing this message, please invite them to my Facebook group by sending them a link to the Facebook group rather than just inviting them. Otherwise, people get pissed off. Or, point them in the direction of my social media, whatever. But I feel like this message is actually incredibly important because it's so insidious and sneaky. No matter how much surface work we do on thinking about the people who are in like our audience or our extended audience, our extended followers on social media or whatever, when we think about them, it's quite easy to like diffuse triggers around that stuff. But then when we start to realize that maybe we're still holding something inside of us, like, oh, I don't really know if my boyfriend even really understands what I do, and I don't know that if he really thinks it's a valid thing, because he doesn't really seem to treat it like it's an actual job or like work. It's kind of like, it's almost like he like just like dismisses it and doesn't really understand. I don't need him to understand, remember. I don't need him to understand. The only person who needs to deeply understand and embody the value of the work that you are doing is you. Because it is you that has to then stand in your sovereignty and choose every single fucking day to show up for the person that you are in this world. It is me that has to show up every day and stand behind my message. It is me every day who has to stand up and stand behind my pricing or the way that I structure my offerings or the way that I speak to my clients or whatever. It is me. I'm the one who has to be on board with it. And as long as I am and it feels good and congruent and in integrity for me, then that's fucking great, isn't it? Isn't that really what it's about? Creating our own reality, giving ourselves personal freedom. So there you go. That's my message for the day. Thank you for watching, whether you were here live or on the replay. Have a fucking amazing day. Let me know what you took from this live stream in the comments. Love you, bye.